What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another The Boys cheeseburger review. Today I will be eating what I like to call the Moab, mother of all burgers. This is the Five Guys bacon cheeseburger. Let's just take a minute to appreciate the beauty of God's creation here. Look at this. Look at that. It's crazy. And I'll be drinking, obviously, tried and true. Are we even playing? Oh, sorry. Sorry about that, I didn't see the blinking red light. I'm drinking tried and true bubbly cherry. If I can get it open. I don't want to use my teeth. I don't have to use my teeth. I'm a bad boy. Comment down below with what you're eating today. Cheeseburger, vegan burger, veggie burger, hot dogs, tacos, burritos, whatever it is, comment down below. I want to know what you're eating when you're watching The Boys. Okay. Today we're doing Season 2, Episode 4 of The Boys. I forgot what it's called, but let's just take a bite of our burgers real fast. Wow. That's amazing. So in this episode of The Boys, it's probably one of my favorite episodes on its own so far. It's kind of hard to compare it to Season 1 because Season 1, obviously there's multiple episodes. There's 8 episodes in Season 1, but it's more of one season and they're each just chapters in a story. You can't really take an episode of Season 1 and stand it on its own, but I feel like the episodes in Season 2 are more episodic and they're more... They do contribute to the larger story, but I'm thinking they're more designed to stand on their own because they're releasing one a week. Obviously, last week they released 3. So basically, in this episode, everybody's on their own. Look at that bacon. Look at that. Everybody's on their own, kind of on their own side quests. Butcher finally finds out that his wife is still alive, and so he is, for the first part of the episode, he's tracking her down, and her son. They are they're kind of being held and protected and hidden by Vought because Homelander got her pregnant, and so Billy finally found out that where she was, and so he was trying to get her to leave for the whole episode, but ultimately she decided to stay because her son does have superpowers, although it's not clear what they are yet. And she knows that deep down Billy doesn't really like soups. So she knows that Billy and her son are going to be incompatible. Sorry about that. So Billy's trying to get her to come with him and run away through the whole episode. But then the next part of The Boys, we have Mother's Milk, Starlight, and Huey are all going down on a road trip to meet up with somebody who was a victim Oh, wow. A victim to a superhero in the 70s called Liberty. And so, as we find out later in the episode, Liberty killed her brother as sort of an act of racism. And we find out that this person, the character who once was called Liberty, is now the character of Stormfront. It's kind of a rebrand, and so it doesn't go outright and say it, but my guess is that part of her superpowers are the ability to not age. So I'll go on and talk about Stormfront in a second, but I just want to stick with the other tree right now. we spend a lot of time in this episode kind of learning about the character of Mother's Milk, kind of seeing what makes him tick. And we find out that at some point when he was a child, or younger, 16 years ago, something happened with Vought. And it doesn't say what it is, he just said something happened, and his dad was a lawyer, and so he died trying to challenge Vought legally in court. I have some theories on what it is, but I'm not quite sure yet what that was, and we might find out later what that problem was. So, Frenchie and Kimiko, I think, are probably, out of all the boys, they probably got sidelined the most in this episode. Frenchie goes and sees his old girlfriend from season 1. I don't remember her name. It might not even be the same person. I'm not sure. But he sees a girl and they talk about Kimiko. And Kimiko's trying to get revenge on Stormfront because the last episode she killed her brother. But ultimately, Frenchie stops her. So that's the boys. Now we're going to move on to the 7. This is a very... No, we'll talk about Homelander in a second. I want to talk about the Deep real fast. One of my favorite parts about this episode is that just completely intercut with the whole thing is just like, it seems like there's just these women that are being interviewed, and we don't know what that is until the very end of the episode. And I think it's awesome. But basically, I think at the end of the last episode, the Deep joined this like church, and this Church of Clairvoyance, I think is what it's called. They are not part of the comics; they're created for the show, and I think that's pretty cool. But he's trying to find a wife, and so they're interviewing all these women throughout the episode. And basically, the Seven's quest purpose in this episode is basically Homelander is going to each of the 7 and confronting them more or less. And so A-Train's whole thing in this episode is that he's too slow. He's only in one scene, but he's too slow and he's being replaced by... I don't remember the other speedster's name. But one thing I want to point out is that he has heart problems, which I don't know if this is a reference to something, but in the Teen Titans comics, more recently, Wally West's The Flash had heart problems as well, so I don't know if that's a connection or not. But yeah, so he's only in that one scene. Homelander kind of is... I guess, I don't know what to call it, but it's like Homelander's like, there's this cabin that Homelander goes to. And he hired a superhero that we saw we did see them last episode. It's this guy called Doppelganger is his name, and he can change into whoever you want to. Homelander is paying Doppelganger to change into various people, and this cabin is sort of secluded from the rest of the world, and they do some very messed up things. And that's fun to see, I guess. Which then brings me on to Stormfront. So we know that Stormfront is basically a facade for this character Liberty in the 70s, who was a racist, and she is still a racist, as we find out in the last episode. But my issue is that we don't really get to see a whole lot of that. We hear about it, but we don't really see that much. What we get a lot of her in the past 4 episodes is just she just kind of challenging Vought and being this sort of independent spirit, free thinking individual. And in this episode, she's actually leading a protest. And so I think it's obviously a facade. She's not that, but she's appealing to her core audience, which I guess is millennials. But yeah, I would like to see going forward. I would like to see more of her dark side. I think that's really interesting. Again, like I said last time, a racist superhero is not something we see a whole lot of. But then Queen Maeve is only in here a little bit either. I can't talk today. This burger is so amazing I can't talk. Queen Maeve is only in this episode a little bit, and they're in an interview, Homelander and her, and sometime between last week and this week, he found out that she was gay. And he basically outs it to the world on national television that Queen Maeve is gay. And he kind of uses that as leverage because Homelander's whole deal is that he's afraid that he's losing the Seven. So he's kind of using that as a leverage. Let's see, we talked about Stormfront, A-Train, The Deep, Black Noir. He's in this episode a little bit, but I think the one scene he's in is very, very interesting. He is going to the IT department, and he's looking up Butcher. And he specifically requests Billy Butcher by name, and I think that's really fascinating because, well, I'm not going to say, but I have a theory that's a major, major spoiler, so I don't want to say it if it's true, because it would kind of spoil the show, but it's if what I'm thinking is going to happen, it happens. It'll be crazy. Anyway, favorite episode, definitely favorite episode of season 2 so far. Quite possibly the whole series. Again, it's hard to compare this episode on its own to season 1 as a whole because it's a season as opposed to an episode. But I think overall it wasn't. So far, I feel like season 2 is not as like if you take the first 4 episodes of season 1 and compare it to the first 4 episodes of season 2. It's definitely not. Season 2 is way less violent, and it seems like more emotional, and they're definitely building blocks down to build up to a crash bang ending, hopefully. What do you think about The Boys? Comment down below, and I will see you next week.